April 5, 2022, Frankfurt, Germany. German federal police storm through the door of a nondescript data center. Inside, rows of servers hum with encrypted traffic. These machines are hosting something unprecedented. Not a government agency, not a corporation, a criminal empire processing more drug transactions than any organization in history. Within hours, the servers go dark. In Moscow, 17 million users try to log in to their accounts. They find nothing. Hydra Market, the world's largest darknet marketplace, has vanished. But this isn't just another dark web bust. This is the dismantling of an empire that handled over $5.2 billion in illicit cryptocurrency transactions. An empire that revolutionized how drugs move through the shadows. An empire that made the Silk Road look like a corner store. And behind it all, one man who would receive a sentence no Russian cybercriminal had ever faced. 2015, Russia. While Western law enforcement celebrates the takedown of Silk Road and Alphabay, a new marketplace emerges from the encrypted corners of the Russian internet, its name Hydra. The platform launches quietly, operating exclusively in Russian language. No English interface, no international marketing. This isn't targeting American teenagers buying MDMA for raves. This is built for the Russian-speaking world, a market of 300 million potential customers spanning Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and beyond. At first, Hydra looks like every other darknet market. Vendors list drugs, buyers browse anonymously through Tor browsers, cryptocurrency changes hands. But the founders, led by a man named Stanislav Moiseyev, understand something Western markets don't. The postal system is the weak point. Every package sent through the mail creates a paper trail, a tracking number, a physical address. One intercepted shipment can unravel an entire operation. Moiseyev and his team develop a solution that will change darknet commerce forever. The dead drop system. Instead of mailing drugs, Hydra vendors hire local couriers. These runners hide packages in public spaces, buried in parks, tucked under benches, concealed in hollowed trees, wedged behind loose bricks. Each package is photographed. GPS coordinates are logged down to the meter. When a buyer places an order on Hydra, they see the approximate location on a map, close to their apartment, near their workplace, along their commute route. They select the package they want, transfer Bitcoin, receive the exact coordinates. They walk to the location, retrieve the drugs, and disappear. No face-to-face contact, no postal record, no delivery driver who might remember a face. The system is elegant in its simplicity, but its implications are massive. Traditional law enforcement surveillance becomes nearly impossible. Police can't intercept packages that never enter the mail system. They can't stake out post offices. They can't follow delivery trucks. By the time investigators discover a dead drop location, the package is already gone and the buyer is blocks away. Hydra's dead drop network scales rapidly. By 2016, thousands of couriers operate across Russia's major cities: Moscow, St. Petersburg, Yekaterinburg, Novosibirsk. Each courier handles dozens of drops per day. The marketplace grows exponentially. Stanislav Moiseyev isn't just running a marketplace. He's building an empire with professional infrastructure that rivals legitimate e-commerce platforms. Hydra operates with strict vendor requirements. Sellers must complete at least 50 successful transactions before withdrawals are permitted. They must maintain a minimum balance of $10,000 in their platform wallet. This isn't amateur hour. The platform develops its own dispute resolution system, complete with mediators who review evidence when buyers and sellers clash. Customer service representatives respond to inquiries in Russian, providing support that would make Amazon jealous. Feedback and reputation scores create trust in a trustless environment. But the crown jewel of Hydra's infrastructure is something far more sophisticated. The Bitcoin bank mixer. Cryptocurrency isn't truly anonymous. Every Bitcoin transaction is recorded on a public blockchain. Forensic analysts can trace funds from wallet to wallet, connecting criminals to their crimes. Hydra's built-in mixing service solves this problem. Users deposit cryptocurrency into the mixer. The system fragments these funds into thousands of microtransactions, routing them through dozens of wallets before recombining them. When the funds emerge, their connection to the original source is severed. Law enforcement agencies call this obfuscation extremely difficult to penetrate. Hydra doesn't just facilitate crime, it provides the infrastructure to make crime invisible. By 2018, Hydra is no longer just a darknet market, it's an ecosystem. Platform partners with Russian cryptocurrency exchanges to create seamless cash-out networks. Vendors can't simply convert Bitcoin to dollars and deposit it in American banks. That would create obvious red flags. Instead, Hydra establishes relationships with Russian-approved payment services like Chiwi and Yandex Money. Sellers convert cryptocurrency to rubles through tightly controlled channels. Money flows into Russian digital wallets that look legitimate on paper. Some vendors establish shell accounts for the sole purpose of running money through Hydra's Bitcoin wallets, using the marketplace as a laundering service, even when they're not selling drugs. The platform expands its offerings beyond narcotics. Stolen credit card data, forged passports and identity documents, hacking services for hire. Want access to someone's email account? Hydra vendors will break in for a price. Need fake documents to cross a border? Hundreds of vendors specialize in forgery, looking for malware or ransomware tools. The marketplace hosts a digital arms bazaar. By 2019, Hydra has become the criminal equivalent of Amazon. One-stop shopping for every imaginable illegal service. Transaction volumes surged 624% between 2018 and 2020. In 2020 alone, Hydra processes $123 billion. Those are approximately $137 billion in sales. The platform captures 80% of all global darknet market cryptocurrency transactions, 17 million customers, 19,000 registered vendors. At its peak, Hydra handles over $600,000 in daily sales. No other darknet marketplace has ever approached this scale. Silk Road, once considered the king of dark web commerce, processed roughly $200 million during its entire existence. Hydra surpasses that every few months, but Hydra's infrastructure depends on one critical partner. Garantex, a cryptocurrency exchange operating out of Moscow, and St. Petersburg, with offices in the notorious Federation Tower. Founded in 2019, Garantex presents itself as a legitimate virtual currency exchange, originally licensed in Estonia. Behind the scenes, it functions as the financial plumbing for Russian cybercrime. Between 2019 and 2021, 31% of all funds sent to Garantex, over $645 million worth of cryptocurrency, come from addresses connected to crime. This includes $60 million from Hydra Market vendors cashing out their proceeds. It includes $50 million from Ponzi schemes like Finico. It includes $10 million from ransomware groups, including $2.3 million from the notorious Ryuk ransomware gang. Garantex operates with virtually no anti-money laundering controls, no Know Your Customer verification, no transaction monitoring, no questions asked. Estonian authorities eventually revoke its license, citing critical AML-CFT deficiencies. Garantex continues operating anyway, using unscrupulous means to provide services to criminals across Russia. For Hydra's vendors, Garantex is essential. It's the bridge between cryptocurrency and real-world money, the final step in transforming Bitcoin from drug sales into rubles that can buy cars, apartments, and luxury goods. August 2021. Multiple countries. Western law enforcement agencies have been watching Hydra for years, but watching isn't enough. The marketplace operates entirely in Russian. Its servers are hidden behind layers of encryption. Its administrators use sophisticated operational security. The dead drop system makes traditional undercover operations nearly impossible. American DEA agents can't exactly fly to Moscow and start picking up cocaine packages from park benches. But investigators have one advantage: blockchain forensics. Every cryptocurrency transaction Hydra processes leaves a trace. Analysts at Chainalysis and TRM Labs begin mapping the flow of Bitcoin through the darknet ecosystem. They identify wallets connected to Hydra. They trace funds moving from the marketplace to exchanges like Garantex. They follow the money as it splinters into thousands of microtransactions. Slowly, the financial architecture of the empire comes into focus. The investigation reveals something critical. Hydra's servers aren't in Russia, they're in Germany. This changes everything. Russian authorities have historically shown little interest in prosecuting darknet criminals, as long as those criminals don't target Russian citizens. But German jurisdiction is different. In August 2021, the BKA, Germany's Federal Criminal Police Office, launches a formal investigation. They coordinate with American agencies, the FBI, DEA, IRS Criminal Investigation. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control prepares sanctions packages. For 8 months, the investigation proceeds in absolute secrecy. No leaks, no warnings, no tipping off the targets. Investigators map every server. They identify administrators. They build criminal cases. They wait for the perfect moment to strike. April 5th, 2022. German federal police execute simultaneous raids across multiple data centers. They seize 543 bitcoins, worth approximately $25 million, from Hydra's wallets. Every server is shut down within minutes. There's no warning, no time to delete data, no opportunity to move funds. The infrastructure that took 7 years to build vanishes in hours. At precisely the same moment, the U.S. Treasury Department issues sanctions against Hydra Market. The platform is officially designated as a threat to U.S. national security. Any American or American business caught interacting with Hydra faces severe criminal penalties. The Treasury simultaneously sanctions Garantex, freezing its ability to interact with the global financial system. In Washington, the Department of Justice unseals criminal charges against Dmitry Olegovich Pavlov, a 30-year-old Russian national. Pavlov is identified as a key Hydra administrator, the technical operator who provided and maintained the servers that kept the marketplace running. He's charged with conspiracy to distribute narcotics and conspiracy to commit money laundering. If convicted in the United States, he faces decades in federal prison. Within hours, news of the takedown spreads across encrypted forums and Telegram channels. 17 million users realize their accounts are gone. 19,000 vendors watch millions of dollars in cryptocurrency vanish. The largest darknet marketplace in history is dead. But the investigation is far from over. Russian law enforcement has been quietly conducting its own parallel investigation since 2016. Unlike Western agencies focused on international drug trafficking, Russian authorities are concerned with Hydra's operations within their borders. Between 2015 and October 2018, Hydra's network operated across Russia and Belarus, facilitating the sale of narcotics and psychotropic substances on an unprecedented scale. Russian investigators begin building cases not just for drug trafficking, but for production of illegal substances. Evidence suggests that toward the end of its operation, Hydra wasn't merely facilitating drug sales, it was manufacturing drugs. On April 11, 2022, just days after the German seizure, Russian police arrest Dmitry Pavlov in Moscow. He's charged in Russia with illegal drug trafficking in particularly large quantities. The Meshchansky District Court remands him in custody. If convicted, he faces 15 to 20 years in a Russian prison, but Russian authorities have a bigger target: Stanislav Moiseyev, the founder of Hydra Market. Russian investigators spend 2 more years building an airtight case against Moiseyev and 15 of his closest associates. They trace financial records, they interview witnesses, they compile evidence of drug production and distribution networks. In late 2024, the case goes to trial in a Moscow court. A jury reviews the evidence, the charges, production and sale of drugs and psychotropic substances. The prosecution presents overwhelming documentation of a criminal enterprise that spanned years and generated billions of dollars. On December 2, 2024, the jury delivers its verdict: guilty on all counts. The judge pronounces sentence. Stanislav Moiseyev is sentenced to life in prison in a maximum security penal colony. This is unprecedented. Life sentences in Russia are typically reserved for serial killers and terrorists. No Russian cybercriminal has ever received such a punishment. It signals a dramatic shift in Russian policy toward darknet crime. Moiseyev's 15 accomplices receive sentences ranging from 8 to 23 years in maximum security facilities. Collective fines total 20 million rubles, approximately $187,500. Authorities seize nearly 1 ton of narcotics, along with properties and vehicles linked to the organization. The defendants announce plans to appeal, citing the harsh conditions of their imprisonment. But the message is clear: even Russia, long considered a safe haven for cybercriminals, has limits. The death of Hydra creates a power vacuum in the darknet economy. Within weeks, successor marketplaces emerge: OMG Market, Blacksprut, Mega Darknet Market, Way, Kraken Market. Each claims to be the new Hydra. Each attempts to replicate the dead drop system that made the original so successful. By 2023, these 5 platforms have recovered approximately 50% of Hydra's former market share. The so-called Hydra effect: cut off 1 head and 2 more grow back. But none achieve the scale or sophistication of the original. Hydra's built-in money laundering infrastructure, its Bitcoin bank mixer, its seamless integration with Russian payment systems, these take years to develop. The successor markets are fragmented, competing with each other, rather than dominating the landscape. Law enforcement considers the takedown a strategic victory. Yes, the darknet drug trade continues, but it's now operating at half capacity, fractured across multiple smaller platforms. The dead drop system, however, has spread. Reports emerge of Russian soldiers in occupied Ukrainian territories using Telegram channels and GPS coordinates to buy drugs, a dark evolution of Hydra's business model adapted for war zones. The method has proven too effective to die with the marketplace that pioneered it. Hydra's downfall reveals critical vulnerabilities that even the most sophisticated darknet operations cannot escape. First, server location matters. By hosting infrastructure in Germany, Hydra placed itself within reach of Western law enforcement. Had those servers remained in Russia, the takedown would have been exponentially more difficult, perhaps impossible. Second, cryptocurrency is not anonymous. Blockchain forensics allowed investigators to trace billions of dollars in transactions, identify wallets, and map the financial networks that sustained the marketplace. The Bitcoin bank mixer slowed investigators down, but it didn't stop them. Third, scale attracts attention. When a single marketplace captures 80% of global darknet cryptocurrency transactions, it becomes an irresistible target. Smaller, more distributed networks are harder to dismantle. Fourth, international cooperation works. The Hydra takedown required coordination between German police, American federal agencies, Treasury Department sanctions, blockchain analytics firms, and eventually Russian prosecutors. No single agency could have achieved this alone. Fifth, Human operators are the weak point. Dmitry Pavlov's role as server administrator made him identifiable and vulnerable to prosecution. Stanislav Moiseyev's position as founder made him the primary target for Russian authorities. Technology can be secured, people cannot. Hydra's legacy extends far beyond its own operation. The marketplace demonstrated that darknet drug trafficking could achieve industrial scale, $5.2 billion in 7 years. This wasn't a niche operation serving a small community of tech-savvy users. This was a mass-market criminal enterprise processing millions of transactions for millions of customers. The dead drop system revolutionized how drugs move in jurisdictions where postal surveillance is effective. Russian-speaking darknet communities worldwide have adopted the model. The integration of money laundering services directly into the marketplace created a turnkey solution for criminal proceeds. Vendors didn't need to find separate laundering channels. Hydra provided everything under one roof. The prosecution of Stanislav Moiseyev and his associates in Russian courts represents a potential turning point. For years, Russia was seen as a sanctuary for cybercriminals who avoided targeting Russian interests. The life sentence handed to Moiseyev suggests this calculus may be changing. Whether this signals genuine commitment to international law enforcement cooperation or merely a response to Western pressure remains to be seen. But the precedent is set. Despite the takedown and prosecutions, critical questions remain. How much cryptocurrency was successfully withdrawn before the seizure? Investigators captured $25 million in Bitcoin, but Hydra processed over $5 billion in transactions. Where did the rest go? How many vendors escaped prosecution? With 19,000 registered sellers, only 16 individuals faced Russian criminal charges. What happened to the other 18,984 sellers? How many of them have simply moved to successor marketplaces? How extensive was Hydra's drug production operation? Evidence suggests the organization wasn't just facilitating sales, but manufacturing narcotics. What was the scale of this production? Will Russian authorities continue prosecuting darknet criminals? The Moiseyev case is unprecedented, but is it a new policy direction or an isolated exception? And perhaps most importantly, has the darknet drug trade actually been disrupted or merely reorganized? The emergence of 5 successor markets recovering 50% of Hydra's volume within a year suggests the latter. Today, the Hydra Market homepage displays a seizure notice. The servers in Frankfurt sit silent. Stanislav Moiseyev awaits his fate in a Russian maximum security penal colony, his appeal pending. Dmitry Pavlov faces decades behind bars in Russia, with additional American charges hanging over him should he ever leave Russian territory. The 15 convicted accomplices serve sentences in some of Russia's harshest prisons. 543 Bitcoin worth millions sit frozen in government custody. But in encrypted Telegram channels, on dark web forums, in the hidden corners of the Russian internet, commerce continues. The dead drops still happen, GPS coordinates still change hands, cryptocurrency still flows through mixing services and questionable exchanges. The empire is dead, but its ghost haunts every park bench in Moscow, every hollowed tree in St. Petersburg, every loose brick in Yekaterinburg. Hydra proved something that law enforcement didn't want to believe. Darknet drug trafficking can achieve industrial scale. It can process billions of dollars. It can serve millions of customers. And when one marketplace falls, the infrastructure, the methods, the networks don't disappear. They fragment, they adapt, they re-emerge under new names. The takedown of Hydra Market stands as one of the most significant law enforcement victories in darknet history, but the war is far from over. Because in the digital underworld, when you cut off one head, 2 more grow back, and they remember everything the first one learned. Thanks for watching. To the end of this documentary, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more documentaries like this. See you in the next one.